Hello, and welcome everyone to the Business of Being an Artist, the New Jersey State Arts Council's virtual professional development series designed to cover an array of business-related topics for artists living or working in New Jersey. Today, our discussion will be on wellness for artists. My name is Samantha Clark, and I'm the Program Officer for Arts Education and Lifelong Learning at the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. I am joined by my colleague, Stephanie Nurbach, who is with us, but behind the scenes today. Stephanie is the Artist Services Manager for the State Arts Council. Sally Vandewater is currently not with us today. However, she supports our work as the Program Officer for Folk and Traditional Arts. Our goal at the Arts Council is to identify needs of individual artists in our state and offer services including professional development, to help fulfill those needs and ultimately better support New Jersey-based artists. If you have questions or need support, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our contact information will be shared in the chat now. And don't forget, at the end of this webinar, completing the post-workshop survey will be a direct feedback with our team. This feedback will provide ways in which we can improve future offerings, as well as share the topics you most want to learn about. Please take the time to complete that survey so we can make sure that future offerings are supporting your needs. Wellness for Artists marks the first workshop in the Business of Being an Artist Fiscal Year 25 series. Please mark your calendar for future offerings this year, including a two-part Writing for Artists series, a networking event for artists, and crowdfunding 101. To learn more about future professional learning opportunities, please sign up for Opportunities for the Field, the State Arts Council's bi-weekly newsletter. If you are looking for past workshops, you can now access recordings via the Arts Council's website. That link is now available in the chat. Before I introduce the presenters, I want to touch on today's logistics. This is a 60-minute webinar. We will have two speakers who will talk on the foundation of wellness and will share a seated chair yoga and meditation practice. Closed captioning is available, so please click the button at the bottom or top of your screen should you want automated caption. Please use the Q&A function for all questions. We will take a few minutes near the end of our time to address questions live. However, should we run out of time, we will make note of all questions and address them in our follow-up email. Because there is no scheduled break, we encourage you to take care of yourself as you see fit. A recording of today's session will be made available, so if you need to step away or leave today's session, or if you want to rewatch the presentation, you will be able to access the information shared here. Today's presenters are Melanie Franklin-Cohn and Alicia McNibb-Kogelmeyer. Melanie is an artist and arts administrator who has worked at the New Museum, Staten Island Arts, and the Visual Arts Center of New Jersey. Mel is also a certified yoga teacher. Alicia is the head of partnerships at Artwork Archive. Alicia is also the board treasurer for the National Organization for Arts and Health and a member of Children's Hospitals Colorado's Art Selection Committee. To learn more about our guest speakers, please see the presenter bios that are now placed in the chat. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to pass the mic over to Alicia and Mel.
Thank you, Samantha. And thank you everyone for joining today. I'm actually based in Denver, so I love that virtually I can come and be in your room if you are all in New Jersey right now. So hello. Right now, you're looking at the brief overview of what we will get into today. Samantha already shared a little bit, but Melanie and I are so excited to talk about artist wellness and to give some practical tips, as well as having some space at the end for some chair yoga and breathing meditations. Before we proceed, I just want to clarify that we are not doctors or certified health professionals. The information we share is based on our own personal experiences, and it should not be interpreted as medical advice. So if you have any specific health concerns or require professional medical guidance, we strongly recommend consulting a qualified healthcare professional. So artist wellness from our own experience and from the work that we are doing at the National Organization for Arts and Health, because Melanie is also on the board with me as well. We'll get into that a little bit later. Next slide, please. Thanks. So a little history about where I'm from at Artwork Archive, if you haven't heard of us. We began in 2010 as one of the first cloud-based art inventory systems, and our aim is to provide artists with the tools they need to get organized, manage, and grow their businesses and showcase their work. So we provide the tools with our online art database, but we are also very passionate about creating free educational resources for artists. So hence why I am here today. I present a lot in presentations across the country. We host our own webinars on topics like copyright and pricing. So continuing the great work that the New Jersey Arts Council is doing. We also write blog articles and produce e-guides, and we host a calls for entry page and an annual guide to artist opportunities. So those are just a few ways that we support artists in their creative journey. Next slide. So I could talk for hours, and I'll attempt to make this brief with my own personal journey, because you guys aren't here for me. But I'm the daughter of an art therapist and painter, and that's my dad. My mom is a career-long arts educator. So I grew up with the creative process in my blood. But it wasn't until my 6-year-old son was born with a rare genetic syndrome that landed us in the hospital for the first 3 months of his life and kept us as frequent flyers at Children's Hospital, Colorado. It wasn't until then that I truly understood the healing power of the arts. So I also wanted to take this moment to reach out and say thank you to all of you on the webinar for creating art that brings joy and comfort, that can ease anxiety and provide a distraction. Art truly helped me and my family stay well during our challenging times. And so just love that, hopefully now we can help you, have a little bit of distraction, wellness, breathing, joy, comfort. So just wanted to share that. Next slide, please. So curious, get the conversation going. Question to you all is, what does the word wellness or well-being mean to you? You can put this in the chat. Anything specifically that comes to mind related to your art practice or being an artist, or more, holistically as a human, what does wellness and well-being mean to you? And feel free to place it in the chat. Wellness means peace to you, Christina. Thank you. Anything else? Physically healthy and mindfully positive. Stability, mindfulness, centering joy. These are all wonderful. I feel calm and a little bit more while just reading this. Wellness is balance, not spending excessive hours looking at screens. Yes, and here we are on a screen. So maybe, I don't know, maybe if you want to close your eyes and I'll just speak and tell you what the bullets are. It's a very good point. Okay, well, with that, we will go on to our next slide screen. Wellness, my body doing what I need it to do. Thank you, Laura. So those were all our personal responses to what wellness means to us. The Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. So wellness is not just about physical health, it's multidimensional. And the Global Wellness Institute lists it in 6 categories, and then here we have the circle, that are helpful to look at from the lens of a working artist. They are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. And we are going to get into those in the upcoming slides. I've also heard these described as buckets, and to think about filling each one of these up. Some may be overflowing, given how you live your life. Some may be dry to the bone. So when thinking about overall wellness, that balance, it's important to know that there are multiple buckets to fill. And today we're going to explore the ways that we can pour into these buckets and nourish the parts of ourselves for holistic health. So the next slide dives into mental wellness. engaging the world through learning and problem solving, creativity, etc. I started with this one because it's probably the quickest bucket to fill for artists, as we are constantly working with our creativity. We are problem solving in various ways every day within our practice. I asked my team here at Artwork Archive, many of us are artists, and one of them provided an example of how she nourishes this, how she fills this bucket. She said that I am always learning, watching technique tutorials, trying something new, problem solving in my own work. Sometimes I work in different scales when I want to shake things up. If I've been really going through the motion with one size of paper, for example, I'll try the next piece really small or really big, and it gets my brain juices flowing. So curious, how many of you have tried a different process, not as a means to an end, but just to experience it? And so you feel free, if you want to share that process in the chat. I just saw on Instagram an artist bilateral drawing with both hands, calming and censoring, just like letting go. And at the bottom, each of these bullets, gives opportunities for us to think about, how to fill this bucket. Just a few thoughts from the Artwork Archive team. And at the very end, we have a consideration that we think of as a journal prompt, that if you would like to journal on it later, meditate on it later, just think about. The prompt being, if you weren't an artist, what would you do and why? Thank you for sharing in the chat. All right, next slide. Spiritual. So searching for meaning and higher purpose in human existence. Our values and our beliefs can show up in our artwork. We can find meaning in our creative process. Others can find their own meaning in our creations. One of the bullets here, the walking in nature bullet, reminds me of social prescribing. If you haven't heard of that term, if you're unfamiliar with it, social prescribing helps folks improve their health and well-being by connecting them to community resources, services. So it's a non-clinical intervention, thinking beyond just medicine. And it's a way to intervene in our epidemic of loneliness and isolation. The Surgeon General announced earlier this year. And so, working as an artist can be a lonely affair. We're alone in our studios. So social prescribing could be gardening, cooking classes, visits to the museum, dance classes. And then we also have some other ways here: communing with others, reading books, ways to fill up this spiritual bucket that's not necessarily tied to religion, to this meaning of self and purpose in human existence. Next slide. Emotional. So being aware of accepting and expressing our feelings and understanding the feelings of others. So creating art can be an emotional endeavor. Being a human being is very much an emotional endeavor. And so art bubbles up the emotions for the viewer and the artist. This can show up in our relationships with ourselves and with others. And I know Melanie is going to speak to this. Emotions can rise for good or bad through exchanges with clients or gallerists. And so recognizing them. And sometimes many of our emotions can be wrapped up in expectations. I know that's very much the case for me. And my dad wrote a book called Trust the Process, An Artist's Guide to Letting Go. And trust me, even with that influence, at my father and my side gig as a yoga instructor, it's still tremendously hard for me to let go. And we will have a meditation later on to help us all try to let go, myself included. And so this slide is a reminder to check in. All right, next slide. Thank you. Okay. The social slide. That very much the emotional loneliness connects us to social, right? Connecting, engaging with others in our communities in meaningful ways. We're all varying levels of introvert and extrovert. Some may fill this bucket with gusto. I know I do because I'm an extrovert, and others may not need to fill this bucket. I'm actually thinking of a family member who is more than happy to hang out at home. He fills this bucket through his professional work, working with communities to make an impact and spending time with his son. And that's it. That's good for him. So all that being said, it can look different for different folks. And so considering like, what are some ways that you can fill your social bucket? And especially as an artist, attending art exhibitions and events, collaborating on projects, maybe just that one-on-one connection, right? And finding a mentor or a coach to help you with your practice. Or maybe it's not in person and joining an online community because that's what you can handle right now or want to tap into. Next slide. Environmental, fostering positive interrelationships between planetary health and human actions, choices, and well-being. These are the definitions from the Global Wellness Institute. This one struck me. I write articles for our blog at Artwork Archive, and I've been wanting to write one about sustainable art practices. There's many artists and art organizations that are talking about this. So I'm curious if any of you in the virtual room have any sustainable art practices that you are currently embarking upon, or things that you want to do, materials, methodology. If anything to share. Otherwise, keep an eye on our blog because hopefully that article will be coming soon as I work away at it. But these bullets are, just some other ways to tap into that environmental bucket. It can just be in nature, right? To that social prescribing, just being outside and reflecting on the beauty of nature wherever you are, city, rural. Collaborating with the scientists, very much being literally engaged with environmentalists and to understand the ecological health and planetary health there for yourself or how it correlates to your practice. Okay, next slide. Physical. This one, let me see, is my last one. It's my last one because it's, the one we think about the most, right? When we think about wellness sometimes, or the mental, that's why we're bookending them. So physical, nourishing a healthy body through exercise, nutrition, sleep. Sleep is so important. Hydration. Yes, our minds are where creativity and ideas are flowing, but our bodies are the instruments we often use to create work. And I just realized I was slouching, so I'm going to sit up a little bit taller. The functioning of our bodies and the nourishing of them can look so different for everyone. So how I fill this bucket is going to be different from how you fill this bucket. It's going to be different from how my sister fills her bucket. So the Mayo Clinic recommends as a general goal to aim for 30 minutes of moderate physical activity every day. And this is important for those who are often sitting for their practice. The Mayo Clinic also says that reducing sitting time is important. I need to remember this because this is my work desk. This is where I live. So if you are able, as often as you can, try setting a reminder or using an app to notify you to stand or move around a bit. I'll be sitting for the next hour. Maybe I should get up while Melanie is presenting and take a walk about my office. You guys, we can't see you, so feel free to do it if you wish. You can also try moving your desk to a higher standing position. Sometimes I just put my laptop on some Amazon Prime boxes and to shake it up. Require yourself to move from one point to the other in your studio. So even brief bouts of activity offer benefits. So if you can't fit in one 30-minute walk or exercise during the day, try a few 5-minute walks or breaks instead, maybe a walk and call. Any activity is better than none at all. And later on, we will walk through some chair yoga that you can practice in the studio or at home. Yeah, so I believe those are my slides. Oh, no, they're not that's not the end. We have a number of resources, as I mentioned earlier. Here are the links, our blog, our e-guides, our webinars that we record. We have a newsletter. And so this is Arts and Health Month. And so we have a number of resources coming out, like an Arts and Health webinar that I'm hosting next week. And then the next slide, I believe, is our articles. Yeah, and so we've written a lot about this. It's very important to keep you all well and happy and fulfilled. So we have articles on protecting your mental health, yoga poses to alleviate aches and pains, the act of letting go, 9 things to give up to be a successful artist. And so these are all linked within the slides as well. Or you can go to our blog and just search for wellness, health, keywords that resonate with you. And now I think I am truly done. Yes, Melanie.
Thank you so much, Alyssian. Alyssian and I know each other because we both are on the board of NOAA, the National Organization for Arts and Health. I'm currently very honored to serve as the chair of the board, and it's just a great organization. We're going to share more about it, but I just encourage all of you to learn more about it because it's awesome and it's definitely wonderful to serve next to Alyssian. She's just an amazing human being in so many ways. I just will take a second to introduce myself. I am an artist, a visual artist. I got my master's from the School of Visual Arts in New York. I live here in New Jersey. I live in Summit, New Jersey. And I am not a successful enough artist that I can make a living on my artwork. So my day job and my job for many, many years actually I'm really fortunate to be able to be an arts administrator and bring art into people's lives. It's what I've done my whole career. I love it so much. It's like a vocation. It really, really is because art has been so important to my life. I know that art has the power to transform. So it's just, it's been a real joy to be able to do that as my career. And I am a yoga instructor. I did do a yoga teacher training back in the day, back in the 90s. So it's been a long, long time. Actually, I don't currently teach yoga, but I do practice, and I do practice meditation. And I am also a person that lives joyfully with cancer. I live with cancer. And I put that in there because I loved what you guys said about what wellness means to you. Wellness for me is also not sometimes about my physical health because I'm not always physically healthy and it's a little outside of my control. But wellness for me is feeling peace. It's being able to live my life with joy. And in order to do that, you have to learn how to thrive through challenges. You really do, because it seems like challenges are always there. We're always living through challenges. And it's a challenging time to be alive right now. So this is really a conversation about supporting you and finding ways to take care of yourself so that you can thrive in your life and in your creative process. Because no matter what complications and difficulties life has in store, we want to be able to, navigate them in the best ways that we can to still find peace and still find joy. So we can go to the next slide. I think the first part of this is just realizing our reality and all of the challenges we face, because I think nothing good comes from just pretending that difficult things don't exist. So here are just some things. Please, if you have things that are demands on your mental health, feel free, and you feel comfortable sharing them, feel free to put them in the chat. But here's just some common things for artists, right? Just this rejection as an artist. I think every artist faces rejection, and it's horrible because you put yourself out there in your artwork and then you get rejected over and over again. Happens to me too. The financial stress and uncertainty, balancing your personal life and your professional life. And maybe sometimes you have 2 or 3 professions that you're also balancing. Navigating the gig economy as an artist is a really big one, because a lot of times we're just, a lot of my friends who do make their lives out of being a visual artist are working from one job to the next. So they're getting that one commission and it's like, but they've got to keep their eye out for the next commission, and it's really stressful. And then finding the time and space in the business of art to be creative. So a lot of stressors that we have for ourselves. We can move to the next slide. So, I think when it comes to self-care, it's really personal, and it's important to kind of just know that it's personal. There's no one size fits all. Meditating works for me. Meditating may not work for you at all. What might work for you is a really hard workout, lifting weights. That might not work for me at all, right? These are very individual things. There's no one size fits all. And also, what works for you in one situation may not work as well in another situation. So, like sometimes meditation works pretty well for me, actually, speaking from my own experience, but sometimes I have to go out for a walk. Like meditation's not going to happen that day. My mind is like way too busy. I just can't even sit still. I need to move. So understanding that not only is there not one size fits all for everybody, but there's not even, if you find something that fits, it might not fit every need that you have. It might change over time. And I think the other thing is like sometimes we get a little bit caught up in perfection or in a competition with ourselves, and it actually ends up what might have brought you a nice self-care actually starts becoming stressful in itself. I did mention I was a yoga instructor, so I can admit that I have fallen into this with yoga myself on occasion where I feel like I have to do some crazy pose, like I have to get to that, and the yoga itself starts to become stressful because I'm making it stressful for myself through my own self-competitiveness, which is a little crazy. So, it's just kind of understanding that all of those things can happen. Moving on to the next slide. So that kind of gets to the next point, which is just kind of understanding the power of your truth and being able to articulate what's personally true to you, because it might not be true for the next person over. What's true to you, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, that's your truth. And it might not be the same for the next person over. So, moving beyond expectations to really think about what's authentic to you, I think is really important. If yoga is not your thing and you find it really difficult and it's completely a difficult thing, then that's just you and that's fine, right? Like just roll on to what works for you. Don't feel like you have to do it because your partner does it all the time and you feel like you have to like do it to, make them happy or whatever. Cause it's like, if it's not working for you, it's just not working. The other thing is just, we talked a little bit about the emotional side. And I think part of the power of truth and expression about ourselves is just being able to like see when your emotions come up. I mean, emotions are kind of like weather, and I think of it like weather. It helps me to think of my emotions like weather. And sometimes the weather's cloudy and sometimes the weather's sunny. I like to take note of what the weather is. Sometimes I say it aloud. Sometimes I say it aloud to my partner. I am feeling such and such. It just helps me realize it. I will make a note. Alyssine said we're not doctors, and we are not doctors. If your emotions are trauma related, you should see a professional. Unpacking your emotions when they're trauma related emotions is very, very different because it re-triggers the trauma. So if your emotions are trauma related, it's better to see a professional when you are unpacking them so that the professional is working with you as not to re-traumatize yourself. So I just wanted to make that note because trauma is really specific, and what we can kind of we can generally say things, but when it comes to that specific thing, it's very important to note that emotions themselves are more difficult when it's related to trauma. And you really need to be working with someone who's a professional in order to help you unpack those specific emotions. Being really aware of negative self-talk for me is an important one. So for instance, if I just say, hey, that was really stupid, Melanie, that can not be good, right? Because I think your brain takes things in, even if like for you don't mean it 100%, your brain kind of soaks it in. So I like to think of the 3 C's when it comes to negative self-talk. The first C is catch it. Catch yourself doing the negative self-talk, right? Like make it conscious. Then check it, right? Like, am I really stupid? No, but walking in front of that car was an unwise move that I should have waited on the curb. I shouldn't have walked in front of that car. So that was not my brightest moment. So I like personally just to like check it. Like sometimes, you've gone to an extreme. Sometimes it's not true at all. You're beating yourself up, but just check it, see what it is, and then change it. Change how you're talking to yourself. So instead of, me and my hypothetical thing of calling myself stupid as I stepped in front of a car, I might just say like, actually, I just need to be more careful and watch where I'm going and maybe look up from my phone, right? Like these are things I can do. I don't have to like be really mean to myself. And then creative practice and mindfulness as a way to deeply articulate your personal truths, right? Because sometimes words are hard. Words don't do it. It's hard to express in words. They're imperfect. But maybe you can do it in a poem. Maybe you can do it in a song. Maybe you can do it with watercolors, right? Like you can articulate truths. I think that's what's really beautiful about artwork. You can kind of like let them out of your system. And I know you guys know all of that because you're artists, but I do think it's the really beautiful part about art. And I couldn't leave this slide without saying it. We can go on to the next slide. So I think the other thing that I really like to think about in my own life is just understanding the flow of energy. There's just energy between everything. I think of energy as just being this thing that's going from person to person, from written word to how I absorb the written word, from nature to me, right? Like we're all connected and energy flows through everything. And we give energy out and we take energy in, right? Like we give energy out, maybe we give energy out in our artwork, and maybe we take energy in through a walk by the ocean, right? We're all different in how we put energy out and how we take energy in. Putting energy out is not necessarily a negative thing, right? Like it may cost you energy to create artwork. That's not a bad thing. It's just a particular choice you're making on how to put energy out. The important thing is that you're aware that like when energy goes out, you need chance to refill the energy that's going in. That's why I kind of find it really, really helpful. Because for me, sometimes with self-care, it's like, I just don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time. But if you think of it as an energy exchange, then you're just like going, okay, I've put a lot of energy out in the world, and now I need to refill my cup a little bit. I need energy in. So I'm going to take that walk outside in nature because I know like hearing the birds and like smelling fresh air really helps me. It gives me energy. So just being aware of what restores you, experimenting with that to identify, paying attention to your energy before and after activities, because sometimes we think, to Alicine's point earlier, she was like introversion versus extroversion. I always thought I was an introvert, like a solid introvert until COVID. And then I had to rethink it because I missed people so much. So now I think of myself as like kind of a borderline introvert, extrovert. Like sometimes people give me energy. I just love being with people, right? And sometimes I need to step away and I need to be on my own. It can be both for me. So, and then realizing that small actions can have really radical results. So filling that cup, like Steph said, taking time to just refill your energy cup a little bit. Sometimes that little small action, it can be 15 minutes. It can have radical results, just doing that for yourself. So I love this idea of flow, and really thinking about what's energy out for you, what's energy in. We can go to the next slide. So energy out for me sometimes looks like handling requests. I'm going to be really, really honest. And so that's why I put this slide here, because people are always asking me for something. I'm also a mother. I'm like, I work, I have a working life, I'm an artist, I'm a mother, I'm out in the community. People are always asking things of me. And I'm a people pleaser. So I always want to say the Y word, yes. And that's not a good option. It's not a good option to always say yes. So here's something that helps me manage requests and other people's expectations. I like to think of it as a game of catch, and somebody's throwing a ball at me. So, you know, I can make a decision what to do with that ball that's being thrown at me. I can say, here's the ball back. I'm interested, but I need 2 weeks to think about it. Can you come back to me in 2 weeks? That's returning the ball. They're going to throw it back to me in 2 weeks, but I've returned the ball to them and said, I need some time to think about it. Right now is too busy. I'm too busy. I can't even think about it. Can you get back to me in 2 weeks? Return the ball. You can avoid the ball, which is like, that's something maybe you want to do all the time, but it's all really good sometimes for social requests. Like, can you make it to this, event that I'm having Thursday night? And you can say, I have a lot going on, but I'll see if I can make the time. That's avoiding the ball because you didn't make a promise there. You made no promise. You just basically avoided the ball. You said, yeah, I have a lot going on. I'll see if I can make it work. I don't know, right? That's avoiding the ball. And sometimes that's good because like if you think you might be able to make it, but you do have a lot going on, I think avoiding the ball is an option, especially for social requests. Rejecting the ball, which is just a straightforward no. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Good answer, right? And it's very clear. Catching on their terms, which is like, Melanie, I need this in a half an hour. And I'm like, okay, I can do it in a half an hour. I'm catching your ball on your terms. I'm going to do this in a half an hour, right? Or catch it on my terms. Melanie, I need this in a half an hour. I catch the ball and I say, I can't do it in a half an hour. Will tomorrow morning be okay? Right? Like that's catching it on my terms. I can do it tomorrow morning. I can't do it in a half an hour, but I can do it by tomorrow morning. Does that work for you? And so those ideas really help me when it comes to managing requests and expectations. Okay, slide 7. For me, sorry. The role of mindset. This is for me like how I maintain my peace. I'm just going to be really honest, especially during very hard times, very, very difficult times. When I'm having a really hard time, I watch what I put in. Myself. How do I feed myself? And I don't only mean feed myself, my physical body, but how am I feeding my mind? How am I feeding myself in all aspects of my life? So I really work hard to make sure that especially when I'm having a really hard time, I will really carefully watch what's getting input into my body. Like I will not listen to crazy television. I will turn the radio off. I will not read the paper. I will do all of these things if I'm having a really hard time because I'm like, whatever I'm putting into myself is also, I'm feeding, that's what I'm feeding myself, right? Like whatever I'm taking into my eyes, I'm feeding myself. Whatever I'm putting into my ears, I'm feeding myself. So I really pay attention to that. I really, really believe it. Like if there's one thing that I say on this whole thing, it's like junk in, junk out. If you're not feeling well, think what am I taking into my body? It could be food, right? Like maybe it's like I need a salad, but it could also be I need to stop watching that. It's upsetting me. I need to stop. I need to get off Facebook for a little while. I need to get off social media for a little while. I'm taking in all that junk and it's starting to affect my mind. I love the serenity prayer for this as well. And I think about the serenity prayer all the time, which is I kind of like going like, what can I control and what can I not control? Accepting that there are things that are just outside of my control. And then accepting that there are things that I can control and that I do have the ability to control, and being able to discern the difference between the two is when I'm having a really hard time is something that I think a lot about. And then the grounding techniques are the things that you really, that really, really help me. So that breathing, that meditation, yoga, journaling, all of those things that we talked about before, but like breathing, like if somebody comes in for a difficult conversation and I'm starting to get upset, the first thing I'll consciously do is take a really deep inhale, hold it, exhale, just to try to like settle my own nervous system. Because if somebody comes in hot and they're already upset at you, calming myself down first is kind of like a grounding technique that I use a lot. All right, I feel like I've just like spoken a lot. If you guys have other grounding techniques that you use or things that you feed yourself that's like healthy, please put it in the chat so others can share all that knowledge. We can go on to the next slide. So just final thoughts. Self-care is nourishment. Your physical nourishment, your emotional nourishment, your social nourishment, your spiritual nourishment. That's what self-care is. Honor what sustains you. And that's personal. And you have to be the one that makes a choice to honor it. And creating a self-care plan that suits your life is great. And if we go to the next slide, we could go to the next slide. You can, there's actually this great self-care planning article right at the top that shows you how to like do that. So that like, it's like actually made for the new year, of course, because that's when we're all ready to like think about these things, but you can use it anytime. These are just some other things that I have found like really helpful. The meditation class videos, they're not just meditation, but also breathing and relaxation exercises. So that's it for me. And thank you for anybody. And I will pass it back to Elysian.
Thank you, Melanie. That was amazing. I was on video, so everyone could probably just see me nodding along and like giving you notes as I was going along. I fill my cup by spending time with Melanie virtually. So we spend time together with the National Organization for Arts and Health. And so speaking of wellness, since you all, artists in the room, we wanted to share this amazing service organization, membership organization that we are a part of, brings us great joy. NOAA, you can see it on the website, but what we wanted to share, or rather what I wanted to share, is that NOAA is a catalyst for the creative voices of arts and health, coordinating, advocating, and amplifying the impacts of the arts on health and well-being. So if this is something that you are passionate, not only for yourself, but also helping others with their wellness and well-being, working with artists, working with folks in clinical community settings, NOAA helps with the networking, sharing out resources. We just had a conference. So speaking of filling our cups and energy in and out, we just came from a conference in Houston. Our annual conference was 2 weeks ago. And so I am still filling my cup and replenishing the energy from that experience. I had a big old nap over the weekend, which was great. We have the link here on the slides, and it sounds like you will all get the slides afterwards. The next slide was something that I actually created. I love sharing NOAA with lots of communities. And earlier this year, I was in Baltimore at the Alliance of American Museums conference. And so this one was specifically for museums to think about empowering arts and health. But there's a lot of overlap for us as individual artists. Some resources here, the why of arts and health, how arts can improve health and well-being. I'm leading a webinar next week about how artists can partner with hospitals. You can partner with a local healthcare facility in your area if this is of interest, passion, joy. Anything, Melanie, that you wanted to add on?
I just want to say that my personal favorite thing about NOAA is the community of artists that are members in NOAA. It's just a really supportive group, and they all, every artist that's in the NOAA membership, and it's national, and there's even some international members. They all have the same goal, which is using different kinds of art, whether it be dance or music or visual arts, to bring healing and to bring wellness to people. So if that is your jam as well, this is a great place to come and check out. And NOAA we're having a virtual conference next Tuesday. Is it next Tuesday?
The 12th.
And after that, NOAA often has convenings, webinars. They're all virtual. So there's a lot of chances to become involved if this is something that you're interested in.
That's great. And I linked to someone asked for about the Artwork Archive Arts and Health webinar. So I just linked to that in the chat. Okay. I feel like I was wondering if we should have done this in the beginning to get us all settled. But we've gotten to the let's practice what we preach. Let's practice some breathing, some chair yoga. I will do my best, virtually via Zoom, to explain and do this for you all to follow along. So we'll start with some chair yoga. And I just wanted to start off by saying, recognizing that art making takes toll on our bodies, right? Whether we're hunched over potter's wheels and tables or standing for hours at our easels with tense shoulders and clenched jaws. I know I always need to relax my jaw. Every day these repetitive movements cause neck, shoulder, and back strain. And so yoga, has physical benefits to help our hard work body. And we can practice and we can benefit from this, release tension, increase blood flow and energy, promote focus, strengthen muscles, better our posture. So we're going to do a few chair yoga poses. I'd love you all to move to the front of your seat, plant your feet on the ground, maybe lift and spread your toes and drop them onto the ground. Sit tall. Place your hands on your lap and take a few breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Imagine a string at the top of your head, drawing your spine long, top of the head towards the ceiling. And draw your shoulders up to your ears, then melt them down away from your ears. 2 more times, roll your shoulders up, and then back down. Roll back up, and back down. We're going to take a neck stretch. So drop your chin to your chest, then roll your head to the right and extend your left hand out away from your body. Create one long line from the tip of your head all the way down to the tips of your left fingertips. Take a deep breath. Then drop your ear closer to your shoulder. Exhale. Drop your shoulder. Like your shoulder and ear are playing a game of tag and your shoulder is running away. To intensify the stretch, push your chin away from your chest or place your right hand on your head. Take another deep breath. Exhale, roll your chin back to your chest, release your arm, and we're going to take it to the other side. Extend the right arm, drop your left ear. And some benefits of this is releasing tension in the neck, promoting mobility, range of movement that you might otherwise not have done if you were staring straight ahead, like say at a canvas or a webinar presentation. Release your chin back to your chest, drop your arm, and we'll come back to a neutral seat. We'll take some seated cat-cows. And so inhale, draw your shoulders back, push your chest forward towards the screen of the computer if it's towards you. Exhale, hunch over for cat. Roll your spine, back of the spine, back of the back, towards the back of the room. How many times can I say back? Inhale, cow. Exhale, arch for cat. Inhale for seated cow. Draw your shoulders back, pinch the shoulder blades. And exhale for cat. We'll come back up to a seat. That's great for mobility of the lower back, your spinal column, your shoulders, neck, chest. You can just even do this on, webinars in your next New Jersey Arts Council webinar. We will take a chair twist next. So place your right foot slightly forward and twist towards your right side. So your left hand is on your leg and your right hand is behind your seat. It's really challenging for me to demonstrate and make sure I'm talking so you can hear me. The seated twist. You're going to lift your chest and twist, gaze over the shoulder, like you're wringing a towel out, wringing that spine out. With each breath in, lengthen, and each exhale, twist deeper. We'll come back through center. Feet now next to each other. Left foot slightly forward, and we're going to twist to the other side. So right hand on leg, left hand behind your seat, lift your chest and twist. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist deeper. And we can release through center. A great one that you can also do standing. Sometimes I just have my arms out like a wingspan and I'll just twist from side to side. And so that lengthens and encourages mobility along your spine, twisting actually can relieve stress and anxiety. And it's also really good for detoxifying and aiding in digestion. Take a side stretch. So feet planted again on the earth, rooted. Reach your right arm up and over so that you're lengthening your side body. Your left hand can just straight down to your side or be rested on your lap. Maintain stability as you deepen the stretch. Each exhale, hinge a little bit deeper. Relax your neck. And we'll come up through center and switch it out. So now your left arm is coming up and over. Draw the shoulder back. Relax your neck. You can look up at the ceiling if you wish. Again, creating length in our side bodies. And then we'll release and come through center. We don't have time, and it's a little weird to do over Zoom, but another great chair yoga move or standing is a forward fold. So you can just, if you're seated, spread your feet wide, hinge at the hips and drop your chest onto your thighs. You can do it right now while I'm talking if you wish, or you can stand up and hinge forward, bend your knees, releases your lower back. It's really great. And so now with the few minutes, we've moved our bodies, we've gotten some jelly beans out. So now we can calm our bodies a little bit more with some breath work and meditation. Mindfulness can help us relax and welcome some ease back into our lives because as Melanie and I were, chatting about making art can be stressful, as beautiful as it can be. And we want to remember to take deep breaths because even at our maximum exercise capacity, we only use 70% of our lungs. So we're going to take some deep breaths together. So join me for a breathing exercise that you can replicate in your studio. You're going to let out an audible sigh like we can hear you. Empty out. Now breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath for 2 seconds. And gently release the breath through the mouth for 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay empty for 2 seconds. And then breathe in for 4. Fill your belly, your lungs, your throat, your mouth. Hold at the top for 2. Then exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 2. And then do it 1 or 2 more times at your leisure. Typically, we inhale longer than we exhale. There are benefits of detoxifying our bodies by releasing that carbon monoxide. We rarely breathe out fully, so give it a try. Now, for mindfulness exercise, we're going to stay behind closed eyes if you've closed your eyes. Or you can let your gaze softly fall somewhere in front of you. And we'll go through mindfulness exercise for letting go. Bring your awareness to any sounds that you notice in the room. Acknowledge them, and then let them go. Don't judge your mind for wandering. It's your brain's job to think. So to help corral your mind, count your breaths in this quiet moment. Take a deep, slow breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another inhale in and out. Now imagine you're in the sky, floating amongst the clouds. Breathe in, you float up higher. And as you exhale, your breath nudges a cloud, pushing it through space. It floats away. Take another deep breath. And allow your breathing to fall into your comfortable, typical pattern. You don't have to force it. For a few minutes, moments, allow the awareness to stay with your breath. Notice how it feels cool on the inside of your nose. And then as the air travels through your lungs and throat, notice how warm it is when it comes out. Now imagine you're outside, seated in the grass. It's a bluebird day, not a cloud in the sky. Feel the grass beneath you, or maybe you're seated on a blanket. And take a few deep breaths. Now listen. In the distance is a train whistle. Keep your body still. You feel the ground slightly vibrate. The train traveling over the tracks grows louder. Now the train enters your view. You see the cars moving quickly past. But don't focus on the individual cars. Instead, let them travel past you. They blur together. The colors stream together. It all moves. And you see the continuous movement of energy. Witness it moving through space. And then before you know it, the caboose passes by and the train is in the distance. You're left with that horizon line, the blue sky above. Take a deep breath and let go with a deep exhale. Gradually start to bring your awareness back to reality, where you are, your studio, your office, your breathing. Feel the chest and belly rise and fall with each breath. And you've let go a little bit, maybe. You can do these breathing exercises from anywhere. You can find a quiet space and sit, or even stand at your easel. You can practice these deep breaths while brewing coffee or before entering your studio. There's a lot of apps out there, that videos that Melanie shared. Sometimes I even do the meditations on Peloton because I am that person who has to sometimes sweat it out. Or your creatives, like if you want to write down your own meditation, your own imagery, sometimes I love that. Yeah, feel free to explore as you wish. So that was some chair yoga, some breathing, a little abbreviated, but hopefully just like a taste of how it can be helpful. I'm looking and see if we have any Q&A in the box. I don't see any questions. Does anyone have any questions for us?
If anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to the Q&A. So first question, can you share more information about NOAA's Essentials of Arts and Health certificate?
Yeah, I can pull up the link right now.
Thank you. Any additional questions, please feel free to add them to the Q&A. I will share that as I did my chair twist, I noticed a poem that's on my wall that I feel like is very pertinent, and it's called I Worried by Mary Oliver. And I'm going to put it in the chat just because I feel like it fits our mood today. So feel free to read that and enjoy. And hopefully the feeling of going back out into that morning and singing and leaving our worries behind will carry us through the rest of the day and the week.
I love Mary Oliver.
She's the best. I think I have more Mary Oliver framed in my house than I do people. Any additional questions or concerns, feel free to add them in the chat. If not, thank you all so much, or sorry, in the Q&A. If not, thank you all so much for joining us. Please, please, please fill out our post-workshop survey, which is now in the chat for you. It will also be mailed out afterwards. And your feedback is essential to how we plan our opportunities. One question, are there any opportunities for artists to show now at hospitals, health institutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's actually a call right now with Rutgers Barnabas, the Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Hospital in New Brunswick are opening a new cancer building, and they have an open call for artists. It's actually a really good call because it can be a work that you already have, because what they're looking for are digital files. They're going to be reproducing the artworks in the hospital. So that's a really great place locally right now that is looking for art for a new hospital building.
Thanks so much, Mel, and Elysian also put a link in the chat as well. Thank you both for a wonderful session full of information and useful tips and tools and resources. So grateful for all of you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all at our next Business of Being an Artist. Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Be well.